that position is worth $147 million. $1,000 in that is not too much. So if you did a 0.001% or 0.1 basis point bid offer spread. Trust me, in any trading market, you would kill for a bid offer spread like that. But when trading volume is low, you're not going to get that kind of stuff. Why? Because there are market makers in these markets. They provide bid and offer. If the trading volume is high, they can afford a tight bid offer spread. Because as they're buying from you, they could be selling it to someone. But if that spread is low and there isn't that much trading volume, then there's going to be a lot of time until they could offload that position they bought from you. I mean, doing it with the near contract is kind of a necessity given the market. Let's look at some of the other stuff. For example, we're going to look at oil and stuff on Wednesday. And you have, at least on oil, a lot more trading volume in the off months, but a lot more at the end of quarters. But still, the near contract pretty much dominates it. And we're going to talk about things like storage costs and transportation costs in determining oil futures values. But you have issues sometimes. Futures value can be lower than the spot value. It's called backwardation, or that happens because in physical commodities, the arbitrage argument doesn't necessarily apply. Do you guys remember April or May of 2020? Price of the futures contract actually went negative. 1 barrel of futures, crude oil futures, was negative $37. That's an example of a so-called long squeeze. Normally, you see short squeezes in commodities. Long squeeze happened because everybody naturally assumed that oil prices are going to go down. Okay, in fact, they went down a lot, and some people said, "Okay, let's go ahead and buy a lot of oil and store them. When this lockdown stuff disappears, spot prices on crude oil are going to go up. We'll make money." Well, where do you store oil? Well, you got some standard storage complex, but you also have tankers. And in fact, Goldman Sachs themselves have tankers. Whenever they want to buy and speculate on the spot, they buy, put it on the tankers, and those tankers, for security purposes, cannot be simply sitting in a port. They actually go back and forth between Boston and New York City. But at some point, all that storage capacity was full. And if you go long on a futures contract, you have to deliver, okay? I'm sorry, you have to purchase. The trouble is, when this was about a week or two before the delivery date of the contract that month, if you get the delivery of that, you have nowhere to put it. That means if you were long and there is no place to put that physical crude that you're going to get. What are you going to do? Drink it? So the people who were long started because people thought, it's so cheap. If you go long and keep rolling it over, we're going to make money. But because of that long squeeze, those deliveries that has to be taken were so high, people had to close their positions because they couldn't put it anywhere. Well, if this is like yelling fire in a crowded theater and there's one exit. What happens? Everybody's trying to sell at the same time. And if you can't put that oil somewhere, you're actually willing to pay extra money not to get the delivery. Because if you try to find a place for a delivery, man, they're going to charge you. So oil prices went negative. So on commodities, funny stuff can happen. Normally, you have short squeezes. I mean, some people short these contracts, which means they're betting that it's going to go down. But if you short a commodity contract, you promise to deliver the underlying. For example, on the oil futures, it's 1,000 barrels of oil. But there is only so much physical oil in the market, right? If the number of, for example, let's look at the open interest for the April contract. Currently, it's about 270,000 contract. That's 270 million barrels because each contract is 1,000 barrels. I mean, I don't know the physical oil market. If that demand is too high, there's going to be a short squeeze. If you believe that there's not going to be that much physical oil on that date, you know that some people will have difficulty delivering it. That means if I keep buying the futures contracts, if I'm buying, somebody's selling, right? The open interest is going up unless these guys are selling. So that becomes a short squeeze. That's normal in physicals or commodities. But long squeeze, that was the first time that ever happened. I think it's the only time that has ever happened. But it could. Let's stop here on Wednesday. We're going to look at how to use commodities to hedge exposure to things like I'm an airline. What's my biggest cost? Fuel, right? So how can I manage that exposure? And we'll talk about crude and gasoline futures. There are futures also on actual gasoline. I don't know what RBOB stands for. Let's look at the specs. Anyway, you can look it up. And it's 42,000 gallons. How many liters would that make? I don't know how they came up with that number. Oh, maybe it's because a barrel. I think a barrel is 42,000 gallons. How many gallons in a barrel? $42, okay. So it's 42, it's basically 1,000 barrels of gasoline. Let's see the price on that. And from that you can figure out, this is a year contract, it's 275. you can roughly figure out what's the share of taxes plus transportation plus gas station profits. As you can see, it has gone up by about 4 cents, which means soon you should expect 5 to 10 cents increase on gasoline prices. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.